What's up, guys? Bitcoin pulls back into its C wave. You can see right here how we kind of pumped to the upside, had a three-way pullback, continued on moving up. So if you look at what's happening now, something a little bit similar here. We have a 1, 2, we have a 3, and look at this. We have an A, B, C for a 4, right? And now let's see if we can get wave 5. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Now, could this be a little bit more complex? Yes, it can. Look at this. We got 3 waves to the downside. 1, 2, 3. Is it finished? It could be, but I don't think so. I mean, it's a possibility, but look, we have 1, 2, 3. Let's get 4 and then maybe get 5. A, B, C, right? And then from there, we want 5 waves off the low. We want a 3-way pullback, and we want to continue with our 5th wave. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2 is that we have 3 down. That's an A. We get 3 up. That's a B. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. That's a C. Something a little bit bigger, and then we go up. So that's really all the ideas. And then, of course, you have these areas right in here, right? As far as back testing is concerned, right? So you're consolidating, you break out, you come all the way back down, and you back test, right? Something we talked about. Yesterday we were right in the middle of this pump here, right? And I said, look, we got 3 down, right? And then we get 3 up, and I think we were right in this pump here. So either this is going to pump us out of here, which it didn't, right? Because it was only a 3-wave move. Now we look at it as, okay, let's get a C wave. So 1, 2, 3, maybe we get 4 and 5, and then continue higher. So you can tell the altcoins have gotten pummeled, absolutely decimated during this move. And I wouldn't say decimated. I mean percentage-wise. You could see, like, for example, Theta shot all the way up, right back into its zone. You could see clearly we got rejected. And instead of flagging out and breaking higher, what we did was we just came right back down to the lows, impulsed right back to the low. So 2 things are going on here. Number 1, we're either creating a base to break out, or this is still like a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, and we still need a 5 to get that divergence to then continue higher. Because remember, when you look at something like Theta, let's zoom out. We still have 3 waves to the downside. Now, we don't know if this 3rd wave is finished, because if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, we still have a little bit more to go, and then we can say, yeah, it's finished, like just like this, 1, 2, 3, and then it popped really high for 4, and then it came down and flushed the low for 5. And then we had the 3-way pullback. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3. Pop the high for 4. And then maybe we come down and get 5. So A, B, C. Right? 3 up. 3 down. Support, support, support. And then hopefully we get at least a retracement back to this area. $1.30 or so. And then reevaluate. But I think, honestly, this is a Wyckoff accumulation, and it could be a schematic 1, which basically means we curl around here, and then we start going higher. And I think, or schematic 1, schematic 2, I think, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2, but the other one comes down in a spring and it grabs that liquidity and then it takes it up. So either way, there's no reason to think it's the other one, right? Because let's look at Bitcoin again. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? A, B, C, that's a 1, that's a 2. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's see if we can get 5, right? And that would be 3. So another thing that we have to talk about, that we've been talking about, is the other idea. Remember, this could be a diagonal. And if it's a diagonal, then it means that's topped and we're going to be reversing here. And what happens to the altcoins if we get something like this? I mean, you can see just this little tiny little move right here brought on some major selling. I mean, look at XRP. It dumped right back to the lows, right? And I'm going to show you, by the way, I'm going to show you something in XRP I think you might find interesting. But let's just recap on the ideas here. Obviously, this could be a 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the first wave of the third wave. Then we get wave 2, then we get wave 3, 4, and 5. And then that whole thing becomes wave 3, then we get 4 and 5, right? So that's idea number 1 if we're going to keep the momentum. The other idea is that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it's in the shape of a diagonal, which means it's kind of like a rising wedge, which means you want a 3-wave pullback, getting back down to this, this wave 4 area before going and really breaking out to the moon. I don't think we're quite ready yet. Remember what I keep saying. The problem is the momentum, right? We came from all the way down here and we're going up, 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 up. And then once we get back to the top, we've already lost all our momentum. We gassed out. So we need a 3-way pullback. We need to reset the oscillators. We need to reset the momentum, right? We need to crush the sentiment even further. The altcoins are still very fragile, right? So all of these things have to be taken into consideration before you can start talking about a massive breakout. And I think we're close. I just think if you look at this, right, you have a shoulder, you have a head. Maybe we need another shoulder here, obviously, right? So just be on the lookout. And if we got something like that, then just remember the altcoins during this phase could be pretty beat up, right? So boom, boom, and boom, right? And I really like that idea. So the way this idea becomes invalidated, right? First of all, a diagonal is 3. You get 3, you get 3, you get 3, you get 3, and then you get 3, right? So it should be finished. The way it becomes invalidated is if this back test in here and then we shoot the top and we like break out, right? If we did something like that and then we kind of hold support in here, right? And then maybe like flag out and even continue. At that point, I think it's a 1, 2, 1, 2. But if we start breaking below this low, which is at 65,000, then I have to assume that this is a diagonal and we're going down. But it's not going to be going down forever. It's probably going to be going down most of November, right? Maybe into December. And then once we get into December, into the new year, I think that's when we can really start to accelerate. At least that's the way it looks right now. Let's see if things change, right? I mean, we can't deny how bullish it is, right? I mean, we get these bullish rallies, three-way pullback, bullish rally, three-way pullback, right? Another rally, right? But you can see it's kind of, look how big this is. Look at, it's getting, and then look how big this is. It's getting smaller, right? And this is getting smaller. So large, medium, small, right? You can see it's getting squeezed in here, right? So you kind of feel like there should be a top coming, and if there's any validation of that, let me see. I don't think the daily is at a 9 yet. No, we never had a 9 on the daily. The 12 hour, I believe we almost made it to a 9 right here, but it wasn't perfected. Let's look at the 2-day chart. 2-day looks fine. But what's the real story here, guys? Happy Halloween. It's Monday. No, it's not Monday. It's the monthly close. So the monthly close is looking really good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all, even if we closed where we are, right? So we did have a 9 on the monthly, right? And we had a 1, 2, 3, 4 candle correction, right? It's a 1 to 4 candle correction. So if the following candle doesn't break us out, I mean, you could say, oh, it's a reversal. We're going into reaccumulation. I don't think that, though. I don't think that at all. I think this is flagging out, and we broke out, and we got right back to the top, and we lost our momentum, right? I mean, we came from way down here, and we came all the way up to the top. So now you need to cool off a little bit and then continue higher. I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it at the moment. So if we look at the monthly close, the most important thing is what? Closing above this close, which is right at 67.5K, right? I would love to see us close above 71.3K, but I think that's, if we're wondering why we're dumping too, is because it's also the end of the month, right? You have futures contracts, you have margin calls for stocks, you have certain things going on at the end of the month. It's always this way. So once this monthly candle ends, the following candle, you can see how big it is, right? The following candle could actually wick. Remember, it could wick 50% of this candle, which brings us right at 66, 67K. So that's possibly where we could be heading, right? Because remember, you have a big candle here, and then it comes down and it wicks 50%, right? I mean, we can see that. I think that was on the weekly chart here, that same example. Yeah, right here. And I remember talking about it. Once this candle printed, you could see the following candle came all the way down and wicked off of it 50%. And then it closed up here. This candle opened, and now it shot up, right? So that's kind of what's probably happening on the monthly chart, right? So again, it's not financial advice. I could be wrong. So yeah, we wick down there, and then the following candle breaks us out. So we'll see about that. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit of a miracle that we could break. I mean, we did tap into it, we wicked into it, but that's one thing. But getting the close is the most important thing. Closing above this would be that would mean it would be the highest monthly close in Bitcoin's history. But ultimately, I mean, look at the chart. It looks very bullish, guys. Just look at it. I mean, we're trending up. We're trending up. I mean, these are monthly candles. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. So the next month, so basically the next 30 days could be a candle, like kind of like this, right? Kind of flat, right? It could just be a flat candle. But then the next one kicks off and it's bigger and then it gets bigger, you know what I mean? So it could take time to rev up, is what I'm saying. Um, so when you look at the altcoins, they're going to have a monthly close, and Theta's going to have the lowest monthly close throughout this entire correction. And you can say, well, that's bad. That's really, really bad. Well, the it's basically like, let's just rip the band-aid off. The price is going to go where the price needs to go. So if it has to break lower, then let it, and let's just get it over with. I still think we're forming a base down in here. I still think this is going to come up into a retracement. Someone asked, well, how is that possible if everybody's selling? Well, eventually people won't sell. Eventually people will start buying. And a lot of it has to do with liquidity, global liquidity, Bitcoin liquidity, things like that. If people are hodling their Bitcoin, they're not, it's not necessarily risk on. Like, for example, if Bitcoin goes up, it could be risk off because Bitcoin's the safety trade, right? Altcoins are the risk on trade. So people are a little bit, their risk level is low, maybe because of the election, the end of the year, they don't know what's going to happen, right? So my theory, obviously, is they're going to have some type of election interference, some type of cyber attack, some type of hit on the election to make the excuse as to why Trump won. Or if Kamala wins, then they're going to say there was no election interference. She won cleanly and swiftly and blah, blah, blah. Right. But in that scenario, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback as to, rigging the election as far as the ballots, as far as the machines go. I mean, nobody's going to really concede, right? So no matter who wins or who loses, they're not going to concede. I think they're going to fight it, right? So during that, I think, the smart money's probably positioning themselves for that upcoming chaos that could happen. So we'll see. But it's during times like this we have to understand, why are we in crypto in the first place, right? Crypto is an anti-debt instrument. We're accumulating it because we know the current fiat currency system, the dollar, the petrodollar system, is dying, right? It sometimes it feels like crypto's dying, but ultimately, right, it's going through its cycles, it's going through its waves, and ultimately it's going to go much, much higher. Now, as far as the question goes, is, why is so here's a question. Brandon, I know you see the technical part, but there is no interest from new investors. How do you think the price will rise when interest is falling every day? Well, I don't think it's going to rise right away. I think it takes time, and every answer is in the chart. So when you look at the entire theta chart, right? We only can go by what we see, and what I see is, I mean, I'm going to repeat myself again, but what I see is a base. I see a big move to the upside, a monster move, right? I see a move that comes down 50%. Remember what I said, you take the whole wave and just cut it in half, and that's usually where we go, right? I see a base down in here, and this base was very important because it told me people are buying theta, people are accumulating it, right? Maybe the heavy hitters that bought down in here, and that didn't get to buy the top, right? A lot of times they sell the retracement. So we're accumulating, we're accumulating, we're accumulating. We break out and then it gives them the opportunity. So you take this whole move, right, and you cut this move in half, right? And look, that's exactly where we went, and that's exactly where people got out, right? A lot of people who didn't get the chance to get out got out. So you have two sets of people, right? You have the people who get out at the top, and you have people who get out at the retrace. But once the retrace is finished, right, that's when you go into reaccumulation, and that's when there's no more people left to sell. Eventually, to your question, you know, there's no new investors, but it really goes to nobody who is left to sell, right? Because if you had a big run up, people sold, you came down, people are accumulating, right? These people, for example, the people who were accumulating in here, most of them didn't sell this, right? Most of them didn't. So when they wait for it to come down and back test, and then we kind of go sideways, right? Who's selling? I mean, there's no one left to sell, right? So yeah, you're gonna have these big swings. Now keep in mind, this is the monthly chart, right? And if I just take a little measurement here, and let's say I go up a little bit, I mean, that's 27%. Just that little teeny tiny little thing, right? So you have to look at it a little bit more, right, zoomed out. And and that's why we go with the phases, right? So you have a rise, you have a crash, right? You have a retrace, and then a lot of times you come back down, and then you go into reaccumulation, and then you break out, right? So we might need to consolidate a little bit, basically kind of trending sideways before we can break out. I mean, it's possible. So for example, like when we look at, Bitcoin, right? We had a rise. We had a crash. We had a retrace. We come down into reaccumulation, and we kind of go sideways in here. So people sold here. People were selling, right? And then it gets to a point where nobody wants to sell anymore because it's oversold. So we go sideways. People start buying the dip, right? We shoot to the upside, have a big retracement. And then the people who missed their opportunity to sell, now they get the chance to sell. So they're selling. But the people who missed their opportunity to buy the dip down here are now starting to absorb that supply, right? So they're absorbing the supply that they missed. And it's basically, you have 2 points of sellers and you have 2 points of buyers, right? So the first sell is here, the second sell is here. But on the flip side of that, the first buy is here and the second buy is here, right? So this one here, actually I should do it green. This one here is buy number 1, buy number 2, right? Versus this one and this one. So the question becomes, which one's going to be stronger? Are these 2 buys stronger than these 2 sells, right? That's what's happening in reaccumulation. That's what's happening in the battle of this range right here. It's a war. It's really a war, right? Think about the old Roman days where they're charging the field, right? They're charging back, right? And then they finally get tighter and tighter, and now they're starting to fight each other. Boom, 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 boom. And it's the battle between the bulls and the bears. And usually the bulls win. Now, if you flip it upside down, right, it could be the opposite of a rise, crash, retrace, right? So that's what I thought was happening here, where you have a rise, crash, retrace. So to me, I look at this as sort of reaccumulation, right? Because you could see this is box number 1, box number 2, and box number 3, right? So this took the place of the reaccumulation. So everybody who sold here, right, they got out. But people who didn't get to sell, they sold, a lot of them sold here, right at the bottom, right in here. A lot of people sold here because a lot of people thought it was a dead cat bounce and we were going lower, right? And then we get up here and then we're selling. So what's happening is the bulls are actually absorbing the supply of all of the people who sold. So it's kind of like, you know, with the ETFs and stuff like that, you know, it plays a big role. And not only that, here's what I'll say, right? When it comes to theta and the question, and I hope this answers other people's questions here, but look, if we put on theta, right, you could see where theta, you see the God candle, right? It's right here. This is the God candle. And that God candle came where? It came at the top. Let me see if I can make it both the same scale. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna go back to log so I can see it a little bit better. Okay, so the reason we have this, right, Bitcoin always moves first, and it's moving first. It's not until we actually get, let me take this vertical line and I'm going to put it right there, right? So theta really started taking off 2 candles before the all-time high. So let me remove theta now, and I'm just going to have that line. So that's where theta took off, right? It was already at the top of the Bitcoin bull run, right? It was at the top of this structure. So, it all happened very fast, right? So we had already broken out above the all-time high. So the reason I don't think we're going to go that far beyond the all-time high is because if you look at this, we had a big wave 1 and we flagged out massively. That was a big impulse. This is a little impulse. This is a little flag. And then we came all the way up here and we came all the way up and now we're flagging out again. So we basically, if you take this one and this one, right, it kind of equals the size of this one in a way where, you know, it's all about having that counterbalance between the buyers and the sellers. So nothing gets too out of whack for, you know, on both sides of the spectrum. So what I'm trying to say is, if that's the case and Bitcoin still needs to continue moving higher, right, eventually it's going to stall out, right? And when it does, right, we could see theta down here in the dumps, right? And that's where it was back over here. So if this is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, and now we're going sideways, we're going to go sideways, right, in a base until Bitcoin's ready, right? So once Bitcoin's ready, and I think it's going to happen soon. I think it could happen very fast. Maybe as late as this coming spring, right? Because a lot of times April and May have seemed to be, you know, pretty good for crypto, and also winter. So let's see what happens the rest of the year, but I think we can get a bigger breakout. I still think as we start pushing beyond the all-time high, that's when we're going to see theta start to make a retracement, right? And then we start to pull back a little bit. Maybe we go into a little bit of a flag here, retrace or reaccumulation, right? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We go sideways, right? We finally hit the all-time high, or we finally hit the cycle top, right? And then we start distributing in here a little bit. Now this is the monthly chart, so disregard the time aspect. But then once we start doing something like this, that's when we could see a big monster push into the altcoins. And you could say, well, where are those buyers? Well, it's not here yet. It's not at the technical level of where it should be based off what happened the last time. I mean, let me put this on the, let's go like to the 4-day chart here, and you can see it way better, right? I mean, you can totally see this is where we had our big moonshot, right? And it was happening at the top of the Bitcoin cycle. So all I'm saying is, you know, if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we start going sideways as we start pushing higher, right? I mean, we haven't completely broken out yet, too, right? So if this is going to be a diag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get an A, B, C, right? Then we could see, you know, a little bit further downside. But ultimately, when we push higher, this is going to start making its way into its retracement. And then we even push even higher, right? And we get into the retracement levels. Then we start go into distribution, right? And that's when we really start to explode. I'm just basing that off what happened the last time. And not only that, but the times before that with other currencies. So I know it's not exactly, I mean, same thing kind of with, you know, total 3 here, right? Where, for example, if this is a diag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get an ABC, right? This could be in the beginning of an ABC. Here's the issue, right? When we look at, let me see if I can make this a little bigger here. If we look at total 3, right? You see how total theta came all the way back down. So what theta did, right, is what I wanted total 3 to do. You could see we had 3 up, right? We had 3 up, and then we had 3 down, and we came right back down to support down in here. And that's what we wanted. But when you look at total 3, right, we had 3 up, but look, we didn't get 3 down. 1, 2, maybe we come all the way down into 3, back down to support before going higher. And that's been sort of the main idea throughout this whole market is getting 3 up, 3 down, right? Now we had it with some of the charts like theta, but we didn't get it with a lot of the other ones. So I think that would make sense if we do get a bigger pullback 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, right? If we did get something like this, then translating that to, for example, like total 3 or even others, and let me just go to the daily here. Yeah, you can see 1, 2, 3, and then we pop the high, but it doesn't look completely finished yet. I mean, what I think is going on is that this is an A, and then we have 1, 2, 3. That's a B, okay? And now we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. That's a C. So A, B, C, right? And then here's your support, and maybe it doesn't have to come all the way down here, but at least, you know, somewhere in this level, right? And then what we have, this is my main idea, by the way. This is what I've been thinking for the broader market is you have 3 up, right? And then you get 3 down. And then the idea is you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, right? You want a big 5-way move to the upside. So something like this, you play around like a Wyckoff and then break out. So 3 up, 3 down, break out, right? So something like that where we build a base in here, because we really don't have a base, right? I mean, we technically, if you look at it from this perspective, you could say, yeah, we have a base, right? But if you look at the base, number one, it either has to get up here and start breaking out, or number two, it has to come down, tag the low, and then break out. So the next couple weeks is going to determine what that is. So yeah, you can see the trend line. I mean, we're sort of rising in this channel, and a lot of times when you rise in these channels, you break down, right? You break down, but you don't break down forever. You just break down, right? You take this whole length from the bottom all the way to the top, and then you cut it in half, and then you drag it all the way, and that's right about where we go, right? And then you continue higher. So that was one of the things I wasn't sure about, is was this three-wave move sufficient enough? So we have three up, maybe this is all we get, three down. But I was looking at it, you can see the size is totally different. So to me, you have a lot of empty space down in here, right? There's a lot of empty space down here. There's a lot of liquidity below that trend line. So it makes sense for the price to come lower down into here. This is total 3. This is all the altcoins, right? And then go higher, right? So that falls under the diagonal idea with Bitcoin. So, all right, let's see, but here's the problem though. Like when you look at something like THETA, and you look at it and you think, okay, well, if total 3 has to come all the way down, right, then what happens to THETA? Well, there's a good chance we could break the low, to be quite honest, which I know we don't want to hear that, but we could break the low. So let me put on total 3. And there we go. Whoops. Okay, and we'll do new. So, yeah, you can see the difference, right? You see the divergence. This is going up, this is going down, right? So, look, the whole thing is correlated. Everything's correlated until we get right here. Now it's starting to diverge. Well, what the hell's going on, right? Who's telling the truth? Eventually, they're going to come back and meet each other in the mean. So I think based on this chart, theta is actually undervalued compared to total 3 at the moment. So if we do get 3 up and we do get 3 down, well, theta already had 3 down. So if we have this move to the downside, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we could actually, I don't think we'll break the wick. I don't think we'll break the ultimate low, but I think we could break below this line and then quickly shoot back up. That would be a beautiful Wyckoff pattern, right? And then we build your base and then you break out. So we get that wick to the downside. And then it pushes up, right? And then it continues higher. So you build that base. So there you go. That's my main idea. That's what I think's going. That's what I think's most likely going to happen. Now there is slight alternations to that. Doesn't mean it's exactly going to happen that way. There are slight alternations that we can get into, but on the face of it, I mean that's kind of what we're looking at. So to me, there's nothing to be bearish about at the moment, right? I mean, obviously we're at the bottom of the barrel here, probably got a little bit more down, but this is buying country, right? This is dollar cost averaging. This is accumulation, right? We have a crashing structure, we have accumulation. I'm expecting a retracement. Now, does that mean we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And then have our Wyckoff pattern that we just talked about to get the retracement? We still have a little bit more downside to go, just a little bit left. Maybe we do. But ultimately, this is buying opportunity. For example, that's exactly what happened back over here. You had 3 up, and then you had this big wave to the downside. You could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes, you know, you get 5 down, right? And you can see we broke the low right here, and then we mega moonshotted our way out. So could that be what's happening over here, right? I know sentiment. Look, we've been going down. I feel the pain, right? But for me, I've been doing it so long. I'm kind of numb to it. I don't have any pain because I know ultimately where this price is going. I mean, you can never say for sure, but you know, if you believe in theta and you believe in the utility value, if you believe in the crypto space as a whole, then I mean, there's really no doubt. If you have doubt in your mind, then you're invested too much, right? So here's a perfect example here. I mean, you can see it clear as day, right? You get 3 up, come back down, get another move up, right? And you flush the low here. So theta could actually be somewhere right in here, right? If the diagonal pattern is going to play out, if total 3's got to have 3 more down, then we could see something like this. I don't think, now we have a big long wick here with theta. I don't think it's going to break that. But ultimately, we're going to come around and continue. So, because honestly, right now, it looks pretty bearish. I mean, you can see we shot up. See, that's the problem. Like I said, that's the problem with shooting up. Anytime you shoot up, you come right back down. Instead, what you want to do is go sideways. If we were to go sideways in here, we can have a better chance at breaking to the upside. We need to get away from the scene of the crime. You know, so I mean, just putting them side by side, I mean, you can kind of see, right? You kind of move up, move back down, come back up, right? And then you're just kind of drizzling down, and maybe we can turn around right here, or maybe we have to dip below and turn around and then go. But ultimately, I think we're very close, guys. I think we're very close to this final area, right, before breaking out in here. So let's see how all that plays out. You know, so a lot of it has to do with, again, like liquidity and things like that. So I mean, for me, this doesn't change anything. I'm still very bullish. I'm still believing that, you know, this whole thing is building a base, right? Just like how this built a base, right? Maybe you dip your toes a little bit below, but ultimately, the idea is getting a big retracement. So that's what I'm thinking. And with XRP, let me show you something very interesting in XRP. I mean, obviously, I showed yesterday this right here, right? You see how we came down, we come down, right? Come back up, come back up, come back down, hit the high, break it, come back down, hit the high, break it. And then what we do is we kind of come down and then we roll over, hit the, make a new low. Come down, roll over, make a new low. I mean, it's literally the same thing. And then what we do is we shoot to the upside. So maybe we can get a big pump here to the upside. So you could kind of see, like on the very small time frame on the 15-minute chart, right? We came up and we started bottlenecking, and then we hit the high, then we came down and look at, we started bottlenecking to the downside, and then we hit the low. So this is like a fractal of this. So I thought that was interesting. Now the big question is, are we going to break the low? Because for me, I wanted to see like maybe a diagonal or something, and then a 3-way pullback. It's all about how it corrects after the move to the upside. So in this case, right, we got a little bit of a 3-way move, but look, it just kind of dumped. So it's it's not giving us the signal that it's finished. So you could say, okay, if it's going to break the low, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Some kind of diag in here. But you can also see, right? Remember this little swoop and then hit the low, swoop and then hit the low. Okay, well, look at this. What happened after that? You had a big pump and then you came all the way back down and you dumped. Same thing here. You have a pump and now we're coming all the way back down. So let's see if we can hold in here. If we can, then maybe we can make our way back, into this resistance area. You can kind of see too, like how we hit the low here, right? We came all the way up, we came all the way back down. It looked like it was going to break the low, but then we kind of flagged out, right? So same thing kind of over here, right? If we move down, maybe we get a little bit closer down here, but then we start flagging out. If we start flagging out like this, then yeah, you can expect another low, right? But it's all about how it finishes, how it consolidates. I think we're a little bit oversold. So I mean, yeah, we're right here at support. So anytime you come up, you get 3 up. Look at that, and then we have 3 down. So, but this looks like a little bit more impulsive than that. Maybe we have 5 down. If we do, I mean, then I would expect another 3 up. So ultimately, when you look at the retracement, I mean, we're right at the 618. So we had a complete 618 retrace. So as far as I'm concerned, these 2 areas are the areas we need to hold right in here. We don't want to break this low or this low. We want to hold this area in here. So if that means having to, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then, it is what it is. So I would see it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then I still believe that this is a flat. So we have an impulse, and then we have an A, a B, and then a C. A, B, C. So it's all leading down to right in here. So, like for example, let's look at a couple other rapid fire. Here we go. So like you have an A, you have a B, and it looks like you have a C. It looks like it's done, but look what happened. You had this flat in here. So anytime you have something like that, that looks like a flat, right? So this could be 3 down, right? So A, B, C, or W, X, Y. But, you look at something like SUI, right? I mean, it looks still very bullish, honestly. I mean, we came up pretty high, but you can see, look at that. What do you see? I see an impulse with a 3-way pullback. I mean, that's bullish in my book. We don't know if it's finished. It could get a little bit deeper though. And then if we come up in 3, then I would expect a larger 3, right, before we go up. So it's all about how it gets out of its first 3-way move. Does it come back up? Does it come back up in 3, or does it impulse and break out? Right. So, but yeah, it looks pretty good right now. Now, when you look at something like ICP, it doesn't look nearly as good. Like, it looks very bearish, right? It still has that. It's still in this. See, that's the problem. Like, THETA had this range it broke down, but when you look at like ICP, we're still here. So it tells me that we're going to do something like that, right? And the reason why is because look at this classic fractal here, right? So look what we have. We had 3 up, right? And then we had 3 down. We built a base, we came up, we flagged out, and we continued higher. So 3 up, 3 down. So That's what we're looking for. That's what we want to see, right? And we already had it with theta, but we need to have it in total 3. If you look at like TIA, for example, that's kind of what we're getting here. We're getting that, we have that 3-way move to the downside. Maybe it gets a little bit lower, but ultimately we want to go higher. So you have that move to the upside, move to the downside. You look at something like Algorand, it kind of doesn't look too finished. Like we had our 3 up, right? It kind of looks like it needs more of a 3 down before going up. So again, here's total 3, right? You got 3 up, and then you have 1, 2, right? You still need 3 down potentially, right? Get back down in here and then go up. So that's what I'm thinking here. Look at this. It's kind of like a flag. You impulse down and we're sort of flagging up. It looks like it needs to break down. But, if you're trading, you can still make good money on shorts if you know how to play it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that, but I can't recommend anything. But, I'm probably going to be looking for maybe a few short setups on certain charts. But honestly, it's best if you just kind of wait, let it come down, dollar cost average, and just wait for Bitcoin, because I think Bitcoin will ultimately break out. When you look at something like Dogecoin, right? I mean, we shot straight up. We didn't really need 3 down, right? You can kind of say we did like 3 up, 3 down, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just happened fast, right? We had 3 up, 3 down, and then 5. So this is what we're waiting for theta and everything else. If you look at fetch, you can kind of see same thing, right? You see that 3 wave down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, right? Maybe it's got one more, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I mean, Solana, you got 3 up, or it looks like this whole thing is 3. So it's a little bit challenging to read. I mean, you have this 3-wave move here, right? If this is 3 down, you can have 3 up, and then maybe you get 5 back down before going higher. Look at ADA, right? You had 3 up, and then look, you had 3 down. Perfect. It looks finished. And then you had a pump to the upside, and now you're kind of coming back down. But I think it's going to, it's going to have to work. It's going to have to work its way back up, right? So something like that. You can see theta fuel, right? Looks like it's getting its, maybe it's 5th wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You got 3 up, you got 3 down, right? We should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. Just like the XRP fractal, just like the Dogecoin, right? Same thing with VeChain, right? You get 3 up, you get 3 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get a little bit lower, start to curl up and get 5. I mean, they pretty much look very similar here. Same thing with Filecoin. I mean, it's the same kind of story, right? Is there any alternatives to that? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. I mean, that's a finished crashing structure. You're coiling in here, right? So if we do break down, I feel like it's going to come right back up. So you got 3 up, 3 down. Kind of like, you got CRV here, where you got this sort of falling wedge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got an impulse, and then you're flagging out. Eventually, I see this thing breaking out. I mean, look, we just had a big dump, guys, today. But look, if I put on here, we're already getting, you can see it. We had a pretty big move to the upside. And then this is why I have multiple charts. This is why you need a futures chart so you can see the smaller time frames. But we came down, we back tested this area, now we're starting to lift our way back up. So I'm hoping that this low can hold. Okay, so SHIB, remember we were looking at that fractal yesterday, which is this one right here, right? I mean, this still looks really bullish, right? You have an A, B, C, go. A, B, C, maybe we go, right? So here's the live chart. And, it still looks bullish, right? I mean, look, we had this little bit of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then look at this. We had a little ABC pullback, right? So maybe this is your impulse, your ABC pullback. And maybe we just start hauling butt. It kind of deviates of what I've been saying, which is total 3 looks like it needs to come down. But, you could have these one-offs on these meme coins. I mean, when I'm looking at the smaller time frames here, I mean, that looks pretty nice, right? You got 3 down, you got 3 up, and then maybe you get 5 down. So A, B, C, right? So like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Let's hold a base in here, and then let's keep going. Unless, see, that's the thing, right? If this came up and then it quickly dumped, like for example, let's pull up, I mean, here's an example like sand, right? Look, this one came up, right? But look, instead of getting that nice bullish 3-way pullback, we just dumped. We just had a big waterfall right back to the lows. So that's not flagging out. That's like a huge dump. So when you look at SHIB, it looks like a nice flag. When you look at sand, it's just like sand. It's just falling through your hands. When you look at like others, for example, same thing. Like you saw SHIB, right? You saw that 3-way move, but look at others. It came up and it had a big dump to the downside. So that's what I'm saying. If you want to mess with, look for coins that have bullish pullbacks, not these pullbacks. Caspa looks a little bit interesting, maybe. Kind of have a little bit of maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, A, B, C. Goldfinch protocol. I mean, you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it kind of looks like an ABC, but you got to be careful because it could be a reversal. It could be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get something larger. You look at Gala, it looks like a bear flag. It looks like it needs to come down and tag these lows, and that gives confluence to the total 3. If you look at Phantom, you can see you got 3 up, but you still need 1, 2, 3 down, right, before you can get 5 up. So that could be what we're doing here, guys. I mean, we might get a little bit lucky. I mean, the DXY looks like it needs a pullback here. So if we're following, maybe we can get some altcoins to pump, right? Because we need the DXY to go down in order for the altcoins to get a little bit of relief. You can see QNT, right? You had 3 up, and then now you're working your way back down to here. So we want to see 5 up after this, right? It could be, a Wyckoff as well. So building that base. So you can kind of see it with Injective. You have 3 up. You have 3 down, but is it finished? Does it need to go a little bit further? That's the question with some of them. So let's see how a lot of times we get big dumps Wednesdays and Thursdays. A lot of times we can see some big pumps on Friday, so we'll see. So you can see real quick one more time, Theta came up here. We came all the way back down here. Let's see if we get a three-way move, hit the low. Take the low. If not, let's see if we can hold this low. You know, kind of like similar to this fractal here. When you look at theta on the daily chart, you can kind of see something a little bit similar here, right? Not saying it's going to happen that fast, but you can see that's the structure we had down in here, right? Where we had 3 up, right? We came up, we came down, and then we shot up, right? So I'm not showing it as like a structure fractal. I'm just kind of showing you, you know, based on how it looks, like how a bottom, how a base becomes formed. So just got to be a little bit patient and keep our eyes on Bitcoin, and let's see what happens. All right, that'll do it. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.